All right, so today's video, we are checking out the SPELAB differential cover for this ride. I know this ride is a little bit different than what you're probably used to seeing to get a differential cover, but this thing has a Cummins diesel, an Allison transmission, and a Ford 9.75 rear end. That differential cover, absolutely no-go. So SPELAB reached out to us and asked us if we would be interested in trying out one of their billet differential covers. And I could not respond to the email fast enough. I knew from the start that as soon as I was building this, that for the rear end, when you've got custom airbags, you've got compressors in the back and everything, and you look underneath this car and you see that rear axle, it's not gonna cut it just having a plain Jane one. And so a billet differential cover was absolutely in the works for us. So whatever project you're working on to get started and get your old differential cover off, it's pretty much as simple as getting underneath your ride, taking the bolts out around your old differential cover, and then prying it off. Sometimes if you've never took a cover off, when you take them bolts out, the cover's not gonna come right off. You can use a combination of like a putty knife to get between the differential cover and the axle housing itself, or a flathead screwdriver and a hammer. Whatever you have to do to get between the cover and the housing. Try not to gouge the housing up. Try to just pry the cover off, because if you gouge the housing all up with the tool that you're using to separate your factory cover from the housing, you could have leaking problems leading to an absolute mess that you don't want in the future. But for us today, we're going to jump right in, installing this cover on my rear end, which was previously filmed this past weekend. Check it out. All right, so for this differential cover, I'm super stoked about this thing. Okay, this was something that I knew right from the start that we were doing. If you're building a vehicle like this and you're gonna have airbags, custom suspension, 4-link, whatever, you cannot run a factory differential cover. It just ain't it. So this company reached out to me and offered to send us their product. Now this thing is super solid. I'm gonna flip the camera around here in a second to show you this. But dude, the weight on this thing, this is a solid chunk of billet aluminum, and it's a really good price. I'm gonna leave the link in the description down below for you to check out. But this thing has the cooling fans on it to help with cooling. Another thing that I like is this little sight glass right here. So if you've ever had a very expensive rear end, especially if you're into racing and stuff like that, and you wonder, you know, how the fluid's doing, what's it look like, where's the level, stuff like that. That's where this little sight glass, just like on your air compressor would normally be, or like your air compressor would normally have, is super helpful. You can literally just lay underneath the car and check the sight glass to see where the fluid level's at and what color it is and all that. Another thing that I really like is the fill plug. So if you're familiar with a differential, a normal style differential like this one down here on the floor, I don't even know where the fill plug's at on that one. And then you're familiar that you have that little thing that you can't hardly see. It's kind of hard to work on. So you're getting an added fill plug with the top of this cover. You can use the one that's on your rear end, that's normally in the front of the axle itself, or you can use this one, which is super easy to use, super nice. Standard socket will go on it. Another thing is the drain plug. Okay, so that is worth a lot of money by itself. If you are familiar with how you drain a differential, it's often take a screwdriver, hammer it between the differential cover, pry the cover off, let it all run out, and then take the bolts out. It's a mess, okay? You have to literally break the seal of the differential cover to change your fluid, all right? That becomes time and money that you don't need to spend. Switching to this one, you can drain the fluid right out the bottom, put the new fluid right in the top, never ever have to break the seal on this cover at all. So I'm stoked. This is a really nice product. I'm not lying. Like, this thing is nice. Very nice, solid craftsmanship. So they send you, of course, all the bolts. You got the bolts that you need, and then they send you a paper gasket. You can use a paper gasket, or you can use like some gasket maker, whatever you choose. You'll get 12 of these Allen head bolts, All right, and they're just going to take a standard Allen head. It's going to be a 1/4 inch drive. All right, you will put a lock washer on, and then you'll put the flat washer on each one, 1/4 inch drive on a ratchet, and that's all you need to install this. It's that simple. They do give you enough bolts to do the whole entire case. Due to the depth, you might have to use an extension on some of them to put them on under your vehicle. Pretty simple stuff though, nothing out of the ordinary. Now your axle, okay, this one is out of the vehicle already, all right, so we don't have to deal with that. Let me get this thing picked up and we'll show you how this thing goes on. All right, so put this thing on. Of course, you'll take off your other differential cover, whatever you might have on. You'll scrape all the gasket maker off. This one's not painted and quite ready for install, so we're just going to do a mock-up on this, but you'll get this all cleaned up with razor blade. Often, it's super simple. Just take a blade, go around it like this, get any gasket maker or anything off. If you want to take a wire wheel and clean it up with a wire brush afterwards, you can. But you want a smooth surface, very smooth. Okay, so whatever you do to get this clean, just make sure it's smooth. If not, you're going to have leaks, and it's not going to be the company's fault. It's 100% going to be your fault. All right. Might want to also put a towel over all of this. That way you don't get trash inside your differential. Okay. And then just clean everything up. There's all kinds of scrapers. Don't use a grinder. They do have like a spray out there I've seen that eats silicone off and gasket maker off that you could use. But a good old razor blade works just fine. Probably want to get it a little cleaner than I'm getting it, because again, for me, this is just demonstration purposes. We're about to actually be welding more on this rear end, so we don't want to mess up this beautiful cover, so we're not quite ready to permanently install this thing. But I wanted y'all to check this thing out because it is the one that we are going to run on this car. The placement of our gasket on here, it can only go on one way. All right, so it can go, let's see here. It's gonna go like that. Okay. And then the differential cover, it's gonna go like this. So let's take our cover with our gasket. And we're gonna put one bolt through there like this to hang the gasket on. All right, and then we're gonna put that in. And just get it started with our fingers. Take our next one. Make sure your gasket is in the right spot, that you haven't like shifted it in or nothing. All right. Again, we're just gonna get that started with our fingers. And then come over here. And your gasket might be off just a little bit. It's okay, as long as it's behind the cover. That started. All right, and then you're gonna repeat all the way around. But we're gonna go ahead and snug these down. Not really tight, we're just gonna run them up just a little bit. All right, and then we're gonna repeat that with all of them. All right, and that's gonna be that. It's as simple as that. Now to take your factory one off, you might have to jack the actual body of the vehicle up and let the suspension hang. So instead of jacking up from the bottom of the differential like this jack is, jack up from like your frame or your you know, something else, not from the axle, so that the axle hangs down under the vehicle. That's gonna give you room to get to all the bolts around your old differential cover, you know, to get it off. You might have to use a couple combinations of different size tools, whatever size your bolts are and stuff like that, to remove it, but it's pretty simple and pretty self-explanatory. Remove the old one, drain the fluid, clean the gasket maker off, clean any old gasket off, get it nice and clean, put the new gasket on there, figure out which way it goes, hang the new gasket on the differential cover or bolt, put a couple bolts in to get this one lined up, bolt everything up. I just tighten everything down, hand tight really good. If you want to look up the torque specifications for your year, make, and model on the rear differential cover, you can. Me, I always just snug them pretty tight. And then simply fill it with your choice of fluid, whatever you like to run. I do like that they also have this right here. I'm pretty sure this is, it's probably going to be an MPT thread is going to be my guess off the top of my head. This would probably be useful for running like a sensor if you needed to know the temperature of the rear differential sensor in a rear differential fluid in a performance application. That's super nice, along with, you know, drain. I mean, this thing's just loaded with features that are honestly good. And I'm telling you, this thing is absolutely solid. This axle is not even painted yet, no 4-link brackets or nothing yet, and this thing already looks a million times better with their product. So again, check out the description. Link's going to be down in there. You got my word on it. This is a solid product, solid piece of aluminum, and it's going to look great on pretty much any ride that you have. I appreciate y'all watching the video. Definitely go check them out. Huge shout out to them. Thank you for sending me this product. I would love to work with y'all more in the future. I will absolutely 100% be running this on the car, and I'm going to catch y'all in the next video. Thanks, y'all.